$100,000, 50 for '09 and 50 for 2010 is going to come out next year. So it's roughly $100,000 within a month or two. And that's got to be enough money to get us through a period where we can finalize this investigation. And they can survive and do, like Legislator Darden said, do the good things that they do, but restrict the areas where they've had a problem. So I think we're not really opening ourselves up to any further liability because we are restricting those activities. So that I'm hopeful for tonight, that we have the votes to allow Hogarth to continue with this money. And further, I'd like to say that these allegations are made by paperwork that's filed with the Rockland County Clerk. These are not just someone saying something, a rumor. These are papers that you can actually look at and make a decision for yourself what you feel of it, how you feel about what happened. So that's what I request of anybody that thinks this might be some kind of, witch hunt or my vendetta or something like that, is take a look at the paperwork. And I say that to the public too. Whoever you are, it's open to the public. Legislators, anybody who has a question of what's going on, I just say, please take a look at the paperwork. And that's part of the problem that I'm having with the Journal News, because some of these articles are coming out, and I think he's characterizing things. I think I've been misquoted to a great degree. And I don't believe Mr. Lieberman has spent the time with the paperwork. And I believe the spin is going on in the wrong way. That's just my feeling. So I would hope if he's listening or hears this at some point, I hope he would sit down and spend the time with the paperwork to see exactly what happened, and he can make his own decision at that point in time. So that being said, like I said, I just hope that you can vote for this tonight, release some money for an agency that is needed for the things they do in my area and particularly some of the poorer areas of the county. And I thank you for your support.
Thank you. Legislator Jackson.
The other night when this came up to us in committee, I wasn't aware of those dates that Mr. Schoenberger just mentioned, from the purchase of the house that was $4,000 tax delinquent, and then purchasing the other properties. A few people made it sound like, well, it's a good thing we moved along with the money. But then listening to those dates, I don't think I would have co-sponsored the bill the other night. But I will vote yes tonight, listening to Mr. Hood. I don't want to see this agency fail, but I feel somebody's playing fast and loose there. Somebody's not paying attention, somebody's not listening to an attorney, or maybe he's not being advised by an attorney. But I don't know actually what's going on. I hear everybody say the agency does good works, and I see that out there. I agree with Mr. Maroney. I think an outside agency might want to take a look. We're the ones poking around, excuse me, and we have very qualified people looking at this, but maybe the Attorney General is the one to look at it. And again, I will vote yes on this tonight, but I'm very, very concerned of this agency.
Legislator Jobson.
Yeah, I just want to thank Elon for his detailed explanation to lay everything out so everybody's up to snuff. And I agree with what Pat said and what Joe said. But I think Bill Darden had a good point, and I actually feel bad for Jay because he's kind of in a catch-22 here, and yet he's trying to do the right thing for an organization that's in his backyard. So, I mean, I've spoke to the mayor down in the village, and he wants to see this organization prosper and help the people and do the good work they're trying to do in the community. And I don't want one apple to spoil the whole bunch either. So I would support this tonight, and I want to see Hogarth go forward and become more solvent and do everything on the up and up. And I'll support them at this time.
Okay. Anyone else here? Legislator Myers, you wish to speak again?
Just a question for the sponsor. The actual resolution addresses in detail the 2009 money, but not the 2010 constraints. Is that covered in the budget, or how is that handled?
Legislator Schoenberger, do you want to address that?
What happened was that the resolution you have before you tonight was not agreed upon by the time the 2010 budget was adopted. So the $50,000 was put in for 2010, and while the money conceptually was discussed, the exact terms and conditions weren't. So the resolution only addressed 2009, But if someone wants to say for 2009 and 2010, if Mr. Hood doesn't have a problem with that, I don't either. But that's the only reason it says 2009. We were working under, as you know, a very tight schedule to get the budget done, and it was 12 days ago. And we did the best we could in the time period we had. But the resolution itself came afterwards, and that dealt with 2009 only for that reason.
Well, I think that the addition of and 2010 would be a good idea and would close the loop.
Jay, you have a problem with that?
I think I do.
Okay, well then,
I think I do because just looking at the resolution where we talk about a temporary restriction until the investigation is completed, I mean, I would leave this at the 2009 and deal with it in 2010 after we see where this has taken us.
If I may, Madam Chair?
Yes.
The only concern that I have is that when we were always talking about this, even at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, the idea was 50 and 50, with the rest being in some sort of contingency. Without that, we're approving 50,000 for 2009, and theoretically, they have their full allotment. I don't know what the dollar amount was
no,
for
they only have 50
2010.
for 2010.
Okay, so that's all they had for 2010, but
Balance of that is in contingency.
but it isn't necessarily limited to first-time home buyers and financial counseling.
If they're not
This-
smart enough to do that, they're not gonna get the balance of the contingency.
Right.
They gotta come
This
back to us to get that
2000
out of contingency.
This one addresses those two programs only.
No. I don't know if everyone here actually has the full resolution. I didn't in my packet. I only had the first page.
No,
By the way.
you gotta flip it over.
Yeah, no, I flipped it over both directions. It's always very
Thing is,
confusing.
everything here is
Back
talked
at
about
10A5.
temporary.
Look at the front of 10A5 and look at the back of 10A5.
Well, I have it now. I got it from the clerk.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, there it is. Okay. Larry, I owe you your copy back. All right, well, it's not going to affect whether I vote for it or not, but I just thought I would point out that 2010 wasn't mentioned. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? Legislator Maroney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. After listening to my colleagues, Mr. Dodden and Mr. Hood, I appreciate their passion for this agency and what the work that OGOD does in those specific fields. So I will gladly vote tonight for the partial money to be distributed to them. And I thank you, and I thank Mr. Hood for being so candid with us. Thank you very much.
I wouldn't object to a second resolve clause, which indicates that the 2010 money has to come back to us for approval. Does that work for you, Jay? Yeah, okay. Is that all right? Does that work for you? Yeah? Okay. Add another, yeah? Yeah, to amend it, right. So,
I'll accept it.
all right, so it's
Can-
accepted.
Can council draft the language that I'm accepting?
Yes. Say that loud.
That would be a good idea, I think. I think everybody would like to know what exactly they're voting on, particularly on this issue.
On the resolves, we have A, B, and C. We'd add a D, and the D would state, in substance, I'll get the exact word.
No, it should be a separate resolved, not a D. A, B, and C are the contract.
Be it further
Oh,
resolved.
Further
I'm sorry.
resolved.
All right,
Yeah.
separate resolve. Be it
Right.
further resolved that the appropriation for 2010 not be dispersed without the prior approval of the legislature.
Okay, so that's been accepted by the sponsor. Are there any other comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously passed.